Hello and welcome to the Deep Three Podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by Kevin, Sam, and John. How's it going, boys?
It's good.
It's good.
We have a very nice episode of Buy or Sell, mainly because this is post trade and buyouts. Teams got really good, and if you're the Houston Rockets, you got very bad. So why don't we get right into it? I saw something on Twitter that we're going to be using actually as a new segment. It's going to be called like the Twitter Sphere, and I wanted to put this on the buy or sell, mainly because it kind of worked out that way. So somebody tweeted, KD perfected what LeBron started. I'll keep this very simple and say hot or cold. Is this a hot take or a cold take? I think it's a very hot take personally, but I don't know. I think he's spewing nonsense. Kevin, you want to start this one off?
This is a hot take because it's stupid. Whoever wrote this has no knowledge of basketball at all. If you think like I don't even want like this, that's so dumb. That's the dumbest. Stupid. Come fight me. That person should get their basketball Twitter revoked, and they should only be able to talk about like, I don't know, like anime Twitter or something.
Hey, don't be hating on anime Twitter, man. Us weebs, Sam and I, us weebs, we stick together.
I don't know what you're talking about, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, stop it. Don't be embarrassed. Sam, I'll go to you next on this on the Twitter sphere.
There are certain things I cannot say because YouTube would mark this as 18 plus content, like severely. I just feel like people have this like weird like personification that like KD is like very god tier in terms of being a leader. I really don't see that at all. I don't think anytime in his career where he's ever actually been a leader, at every time he's always had some sort of side piece become that character for him. Maybe it's a Russell Westbrook at that point, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. And even in the Nets, like who is the leader? Like who is that guy you think of? In terms of player, I see Kevin Durant. But is it like Kyrie Irving? Is he really the voice? Is it James Harden? I mean, he's the one who's been the most vocal lately. It's weird because what LeBron did when he started was that it was just a lot more hate culture was starting to come up during that time. Whereas now in the NBA, everyone is just they bandwagon because I want to join my friends. That's what they did, right? KD and Kyrie. The Nets only signed Kyrie because KD went there. I would make that very clear. Like they would not sign Kyrie Irving otherwise. So I'm gonna say this is a dumb topic because I see what they're going for, but it doesn't. I think they're two separate distinctions. I think what LeBron was actually a wave, whereas Kevin Durant is still building up the buddy talk. So I'm gonna pass on this.
Yeah, it's kind of like LeBron is like the character and KD is the sword. Like KD is an incredible offensive scorer and stuff like that. There is no takeaway to how good Kevin Durant is, but LeBron James is the person wielding that sword. He's the person who basically started, as Sam said, the wave, this giant wave. I think that's actually a very good way of describing it, Sam. So that was good. Congratulations. You probably got an A in your English class. John, I'll go to you next.
I don't know. Let me ask you a question. Who built the best team? Like
it's LeBron.
Like who no. Like seriously though, like who collected the best big three?
Probably the Warriors when we say that.
Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I'm saying, right? Like, I understand where this person is coming from as far as like LeBron absolutely like pioneered this culture of teaming up with great players in free agency and via trade. And he's been the best at it. But I mean, look at what Kevin Durant did with the Warriors by joining that team. Look at what Kevin Durant did with this Brooklyn lineup. I mean, he has himself an MVP, James Harden, also a former MVP who is an MVP candidate this year, and Kyrie Irving, who's like, as much as we like to hate on him, like Kyrie's really, really good. He's like a top 20 player. He hit one of the clutchest shots in the history of basketball.
Stop that nonsense.
One of the clutchest shots in the history of basketball. Put up 44 in the finals. Get the fuck out of here. Kyrie's great. So like, and then you add the fact that like they didn't. I mean, like, this team is it's just really good. What KD did here is really impressive. Getting this roster, like, it's not perfect, but I defy you to, like, tell me that this team will be an easy out in any way. I find it hard to believe they don't make the finals if everyone's healthy. KD's, like, accomplished something very and he said it himself. He said he tweeted out because someone was talking shit about him, as we all do. And he tweeted back to that person. He's like, look, I never have and never will accomplish anything on this earth without people around to help me do it. And I love that mindset. I think it's important to know that doing shit alone, that's like some bullshit boomer shit. Everyone needs people around them to make shit work. That's just how it works. That's just the reality. KD knows that. He's not afraid of it. He embodies it. He doesn't care about your takes on Twitter. That's just stuff for him to laugh at, clown you for. So, look, I don't know if I would say he perfected it, but I would say, like, I don't know if there's anyone who's done a better job of it in the past year. LeBron did win a championship last year. That's fair, but I think there's levels to this. I think I would say, like, right now it's like what KD has in Brooklyn, incredible, and then, like, LeBron in LA, and then, like, Kawhi and Paul George, like, way down there. Like,
I think that's a very interesting point that you put up, because I'll just say, like, my first reaction to this post was more like as a player. It wasn't like building teams. It was just like player to player. So that's why I was just like, oh, well, LeBron, obviously. But, like, you are absolutely right, John. Like, when you're looking at, like, team building, it's just like, I think we all get blown away because, you know, the huge impact that LeBron had in Miami with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade was monumental. It's what started everything, essentially. And you're looking at this Nets team, which is mind-boggling. We still need to see how this all works out with all the pieces that they just collected. We haven't really seen enough Blake Griffin games, although I think we're starting to realize that Blake Griffin wasn't doing shit on the Pistons for a reason because that boy's dunked the first game he got back.
Let me just also add, like, obviously I also, like, I think LeBron is, when people say LeBron's the greatest player of all time, I say, yeah, sure. You know, like, I truly do believe it's, like, that close that it's like, I don't care about that argument anymore because I really do think it's that close. He only has 2 more rings than Kevin Durant. So, so that's what I mean when it comes to, like, this kind of, like, building a team when your goal is to win a championship. Kevin Durant's done that very efficiently since he decided to leave OKC. So if he does it again in Brooklyn, all I'm saying is, like, he's doing a good job. If your goal is to win a championship, Kevin Durant's doing it right. So
absolutely.
That's my question. Is, like, how much do you weigh a ring at this point? If that's the new wave, right? The new wave is, let's join with the best players. I'm not trying to bash that. I'm just, you know, that's just a stance, right? You know, you want to join and play with the best guys. You know, some of these guys played together back in AAU, and then some guys became friends throughout. I don't mind that. But how much do we weigh a championship ring now? Because based off our outside, you know, not being in, you know, where the players are, based off what we're seeing, it seems like if you join the best players, you're going to win a title, right? That's the assumption, right? What Kevin Durant did with the Warriors, it means you're basically guaranteed a title. Even if Kevin Durant played against the Toronto Raptors, they would have won a title. I promise you that. That would have been an easy title.
Yeah.
Do we think that still has much weight, you know, being an NBA player? Like, is it still worth being winning a title, or is it just getting the bag, or is it just individual accolades? Like, what's worth more now? Because I feel like that's a toss-up.
So personally, it's kind of hard because I feel like the value of a championship, it's obvious. It's the thing. It's what every single player goes for. You know, there is no discounting how important this is. It's, you know, it's what you play for. It's absolutely what you play for. You play for that championship ring. However, I think the championship is kind of man-made now. I think it's gotten to the point where it's just like, as long as you can build a good team, then you're going to get in. We saw that with LeBron. We saw that with the Warriors, with their insane dynasty run. To me, it's more so like, I feel like it's more individual accolades and not necessarily stat padding, because there's obviously you have your stat padders, and then you have your players who actually make a difference on your team. I kind of give this one a little bit more than the championship. I mean, obviously the championship is like monumental, but it's like now it's kind of just like if you can build a good team, then it's almost like you're gonna win. Like at the very start of the season, we were just like Lakers got it, like it was insane. And now the Nets have this insane team, and now it's just like, well, these two teams are insanely monstrous. They're insanely monstrous. So it's just like I don't feel like any other team can play against these guys. So it's just like, what value does that have now?
I completely disagree. I completely 100% disagree. I think that look at the Showtime Lakers. They have 100 Hall of Famers all the way down that lineup. Look at Larry Bird's Celtics, Hall of Famers down the lineup. Michael Jordan's Bulls, Rodman and Pippen.
Sure.
Pippen's one of the probably 50 best players of all time that he had on his team. It's just that is Shaq and Kobe on the Lakers. It's just and the Spurs. The best teams win championships. That's just how it goes. And now people are upset because players are creating the best team instead of an organization creating the best team. Sure. The fact of the matter is people are making the best team and they're winning a championship. It's just that the power dynamic has kind of changed and people aren't comfortable with that. For me, it's you still have to win the championship. You still have to go and do it. And we've seen that it's not always a total guarantee. The 73-win Warriors lost in the finals to a LeBron James super team. You know what I mean? So it's just these things. I don't think it's always as cut and dry as people want to make it with that. It's still hard to win a championship in the NBA. You still need to have good health across your roster. You still need to make it all the way to the finals. I think that and I think the other thing too is that there's so many talented players that the talent dispersion in the league now is so it's really good. There's just good players across so many different teams that it's actually at a point where it's you probably could reasonably add teams to this league because there's even better young players coming in too. So I don't know. I'm not that bothered by the super team stuff. I was at first, and now I'm just kind of this is just the dynamic of the league, and so it's just about figuring out how you can make it work for yourself. And I think that guys like LeBron and guys like Kevin Durant and guys like Kawhi Leonard all understand that that's the case.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount, like I said, and I was very clear to make sure that I wasn't discounting the championship ring and its value, because clearly it's the thing that everybody wants to fight for. It's more so that I do agree with what you're saying, John. That is just it's kind of just it is what it is. That's just the dynamic. And if anything, power to the players for being able to do this on their own and not, essentially being held to the owners to do what they need to do. But yeah, I totally get that point for sure. 100%. Boys, why don't we get right into the buy or sell? We'll start this one off first. Kevin, James Harden says, "I am the MVP." Are we buying this or selling on this?
I'm kind of torn on it because every game James Harden plays, he gets a step closer to having that be to his game being a compelling argument for him actually being the MVP. He's putting up outrageous numbers every night. He's shooting perfectly. He's playing point guard perfectly. He is outstanding. But I gotta sell a little bit. I can't give him the MVP yet. I think, I don't know. I think people, when he's on a team of that caliber, I have a hard time giving him the MVP because he's hyped up by other absolute all-stars like Kyrie and KD. So I can't. I think the most valuable player should be someone who is taking this team of kind of not all-stars and doing really, really, really well with them, like a LeBron, like a Giannis, like a Jokic.
Williams, right.
But James Harden is doing unbelievable work, but it's with a unbelievable team. He has a lot of tools at his disposal to use, and he's using them very well, but I have a hard time naming him the MVP with that in mind.
Interesting. Do you guys want to, John, Sam, do you want to add anything to that?
I'll say really quickly, I also doubt that he would win the MVP because he made such a stink at the beginning of the year and that left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I don't really give a shit at this point, but like
Sure, yeah.
yeah, I don't know, like because the Rockets are so decrepit, I'm like fuck them. But like, yeah, I don't think he wins it, but I understand why he would say it because he's been incredible and he deserves to be in that discussion. I would be shocked if he won the MVP award this year.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah, I think he could easily finish second. Easily finish second, could be first. Like based off the narrative, he probably won't because he was throwing a hissy fit at that point. But hey, he's with Brooklyn, right? I mean, you can't complain at that point. I joined Brooklyn at that point. I mean, some of that 26, 8, and 11 for a guard, that's stupendous stats. Triple-double, that's actually meaningful. I just realized his middle name is Edwards, so I can't give him MVP for that.
Oh my God.
But no, I think James Harden's been playing phenomenal, and like, I think he blew us all away just with the amount of ball talent. I know the ball talent hasn't been consistent, with all the injuries and just missing games. But even together, I've never seen such cohesiveness from star talent. So I'm still blown away by that. So this is awesome. But I could buy on this. I could still buy on this. I think he won't, but I think easily second.
Yeah, that's fair. So Sam, what you're saying is James Harden's middle name is Edward.
Stop it.
I'm so happy that you caught that. Kevin, you just gave me a little smirk and you're crying on the inside. I get it. That's fine.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a
Yeah, you do. Next one, we have Rick Carlisle. Zion is Shaq with point guard skills. That is super interesting. John, why don't you hit me with that one?
Yeah, I'll buy it. Fuck it. Yeah. If my man Rick Carlisle's saying it, it's got to be the truth. Look, I mean, I totally get where he's coming from. Obviously, like Shaq's level of physical dominance is kind of something we'll probably like never actually totally see. But like what Zion's doing, he's literally making like 7-footers bounce off of him when he drives from the top of the key. Like the point guard skills are there. Points. If you saw like the end of the I forgot who they were playing. They had like a very tight game recently where Zion had just like 10 straight possessions of just taking over in crunch time and like either delivering the assist or scoring or getting a free throw. Like the man is legit good. He's kind of unstoppable offensively. And and he really does have point guard skills. Like it's the craziest thing. Like, it's just like he can actually do those things. So I mean, we're just scratching the surface with this guy. The sky really is the limit. And, if he's healthy for his career, he's one of those guys who could go down as like one of the all-time dominant players because just physically, like no one can balance his combo of speed and just superhuman strength. Like, and he's got a pretty decent handle, got good vision. I'm loving Point Zion. I'm loving it.
Down with the stereotypical point guard, shooting guard, small forward bullshit. Let's get that positionless basketball, baby. Point guard Zion. Kevin.
I just want to kind of like point this out in like 2K terms. Like imagine if so there's like point guard, like there's slashers. They like cut through and they run to the basket and they're doing this in 2K. Like that's their thing. Imagine if you had Shaq be a point guard slasher with his size and his athleticism in 2K. That is literally what Zion is doing. Zion is this hulking beast that is running from the top of the key to the basket, play after play after play after play, and making ridiculous reads on the defense, making ridiculous layups, getting the and ones, like things like I'm buying on this 100%. I'm loving the hype on Zion finally. I just keep imagining like a slightly more compact version of Shaq running full speed in 2K across the court and like dunking on someone or over 3 people. Yeah. I love it.
I mean, I think the better comp is when you make a 300-pound quarterback in Madden. That's what with Zion, right? Has 99 speed. Like that's what we see with Zion. That's what we're making at this point. I think it's the wrong coach for this system, but I think you can actually do it, and I think that's when it gets really scary. If you can, and I think that the running's good for Zion, right? You lose a couple pounds on the way, going down the court. I wouldn't mind that for the health standpoint, but I mean, the kid has the IQ. It sounds weird because I feel like I shouldn't say kid, but he is actually much younger than me at this point. Yeah. It's kind of scary. But I really like this. I think I think he could be better than Shaq. I think that's how scary this talent can be. I think he's just a few inches shorter, but I think the skill set that he has can elevate him as probably the top big man to ever play this game.
That's
absolutely.
I appreciate that take, actually. That's the potential he has, though. That really is. And I just want to say right now, I did not curse Zion. I was not the only one to say these things this episode. If anything happens to Zion between the recording of this and its release, it was not on me.
It's true. It's true. Look, when I saw PG, I thought Paul George skills, and I think that's the ultimate curse. So put that on him, okay?
Look, all I'm saying is I have a bunch of sage in my shopping cart right now, and I've already bought it.
It's cool, nice.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, we got the next one. This one's actually super, super funny because it both involves one player. The Rockets Harden trade was worse than the OKC Harden trade. Sam, I'm going to hit you with this one first.
Oh, man, that's tough. That's really tough.
Now, refresh my mind. What was the OKC Harden trade?
They got Jeremy Lamb and I believe the pick that turned into Steven Adams. And they also got some guy who was Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin.
That's right.
And at the time, James Harden had just won like 6th Man of the Year. He was not the James Harden that like.
Yeah, right.
I think the OKC trade was still worse. I think there was just a potential, like you just forever in the rest of our life, we will always know that this could have been something because of the outcome we saw. And based on what we said, there was 6th Man of the Year. I believe he was just paid $4 million short of what he asked. He asked for the max, and they said, we'll give you like $4 million less. And he's like, okay, I'm out then. That's clear that you don't respect my talent. And I respect James Harden for that, not to go with OKC. And he ended up in a better place. And we saw what he did. He could have been basically 2 MVPs, got snubbed by Giannis. Sucks from that standpoint. The Rockets trade was, I think the ball was in their court and they messed it up. But I think at that point the empowerment changed to the player is what we're talking about right now. So I think at that point, James Harden made clear he wants out. So they knew that within a 15-game standpoint, we had to get rid of him, and they just took whatever deal came closest to them. But I do think the OKC trade will forever haunt us in OKC history.
I'm going to go next on this one. I do agree that trade was pretty bad, but however, I think the Rockets one is worse, and the only reason is because they could have gotten a player like Ben Simmons or something like that, and in return they have literally nothing now. So that's my only argument for it. I do agree with you, Sam. OKC is probably like kicking themselves a little bit for not having what Harden is right now. But on the other side, I think OKC is also, in a money pit right now, just throwing up all their draft picks that they have and just like kind of swimming in it because their draft pick they just have so many. Kevin, I'll go with you next.
I think the Rockets one is worse just because, again, I think it's a really, really good point that, like, the OKC trade was really bad because, like, but I think it's really bad with us having 2020 vision or 2020, like, hindsight knowledge of everything that happened and what James Harden is now. Yes, absolutely. But the Rockets traded away James Harden where he is now and got nothing for it. And like OKC traded him away when he was 6th Man of the Year. Good. Yeah, he definitely had a lot of potential. He could have changed the course of that franchise, but they didn't know that at the time. Rockets knew how good James Harden was this year, and they traded him away and got Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley. That's shit. That's garbage.
But I mean, at that point, we know the Rockets are going to tank. They clearly are tanking, and I think they're going to be worse than the Timberwolves, which is going to be very scary. But OKC knew that James Harden was going to be good because they made it to the finals. Like, I don't know. I feel like when you make it to the finals, you can't get that up. You lose to the Western Conference Finals to the greatest team to ever live, which is the San Antonio Spurs. And I just feel like I think Sam Presti just gets too excited with the trade frenzy, and I think he does win every trade. I mean, he really just wins every trade, and I think this is the one he actually lost. But hey, maybe it paid off in the future.
John?
Yeah, okay, so this is what I was waiting for from the last episode. This was Rockets trade is a fucking disaster. Okay, this is embarrassing because, as you said, Matt, they could have had Ben Simmons if they wanted. They absolutely could have. I'm sure they could have gotten Ben Simmons in a pick. And not only that, you could have had Karis LeVert, who's currently, after getting surgery for cancer, a better player than Victor Oladipo. Okay? So, and younger, okay? So this is a terrible, terrible, embarrassing trade. They got nothing for this. The best player they got back was Victor Oladipo, who did jack shit for them. They traded him to Miami for Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley and a protected pick. Like, garbage, 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 garbage. Okay, this is an absolute embarrassment. All they got were a bunch of picks from the Nets. Which team do you think got a better deal, better return for their star, okay? The Rockets for literally James Harden, MVP candidate James Harden, or the fucking Magic for Nikola Vucevic, okay? They got 2 first-round picks and Wendell Carter Jr., all right? That's way better than the fucking trash picks they're going to get from the Nets and fucking Kelly Olynyk, okay? Like, garbage, 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 terrible, awful. Rafael Stone either needs to be fired or he needs to be rescued from whatever hostage situation Tillman Fertitta has put him in. That man, worst owner in the league. And it's so crazy that 2 James Harden trades happened that are both terrible and both involve cheap owners. Like, it's just like, learn your lessons, guys. Like, it's just, I think this Rockets trade is an absolute catastrophe. And, obviously we won't know until we see what the picks are, but like, they're not going to be good picks for years. So what, like, disaster.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Trade King, John Murphy. And we call him the Trade King because he dominates our fantasy league in the trade department. Let's hit it with the next one. John, I'm super pumped for this one. I don't know about you. The Bulls finished with a higher seeding than the Celtics. Oh, boy. With the way that the Celtics trade went, I might have to buy this. I'm riding that Bulls hype train. I am really hype. I'm really riding it. I'm looking at the team that the Bulls have right now, and the fact that they added Vooch is like exponentially better than what the Celtics have gotten. I might have to agree with this one. It's going to be hard, I think, but I like the future that the Bulls have currently. John, I'll give it to you.
Okay, yeah. I actually will buy this just out of like it just has to happen because otherwise it's a terrible tragedy. I think the Bulls will end up as a 6 seed this year. I think the Hornets are going to fall out of the playoffs potentially. They're going to, I think, fall down at least several seeds. I think there's room for the Bulls to move up. And yeah, I really actually do like this team. Not just the Vucevic edition, but like they just added some good vets, and like it was a really young team to start. So like they've retooled and added guys with more experience, some good defense to actually help on this team because that's what they desperately need. Still need a point guard. Yep. I like this team. The Celtics feel like they barely want to play this year. So I'm going to go ahead and buy this just out of like pure, I need it to happen. I need this to happen.
Literally manifesting this when I wake up every single day. The Bulls will be in the playoffs. The Bulls will be in the playoffs. Kevin, I'll give it to you next.
I am torn on this one. I think the Celtics are bad. No, I got to lightly buy. I think the Celtics got worse after the trade deadline, and the Bulls got significantly better with Vooch. And I think, again, we were talking before the episode a little bit, like there's still 25 games left in the season, something like that. So the Bulls got plenty of time to make up those like 3 games that they're behind the Celtics at. And I think now with Vooch, they actually have a chance to do that. And the Celtics got Evan Fournier and lost Daniel Tice, who now is on the Bulls. So I have a hard time believing the Celtics are going to go up in the standings at all. I think they're only going to drop, and they're already a 7 seed in the East. So I'm buying.
All right, Sam.
It's kind of tough because neither team is progressing much in life. I think the Celtics did fumble the bag again. I hate when like Woj drops a thing or in quotes really close to a deal and then not actually make the deal, or we're definitely going to get this guy. They're clearly not. I think I'm going to still sell, and I think it's purely just based on the strength of the schedule. The Wolves do have the 7th toughest schedule, with my San Antonio Spurs being the 2nd, so we'll probably be out of this race very soon. And the Celtics got the 18th. And I think something clicked, and I think it was just this, everyone was on the chopping block for the Celtics because of what Danny Ainge can do. And I think people was put on the edge. And I think we're seeing the improvement from this team. Clearly, there's a big void, but I do think the Evan Fournier pickup is decent. I don't think it's good, but I think he does provide some sort of. I'm not sure how they're going to utilize him, but I think we only know him as an offensive threat, and I think that's what this team just kind of needs, is that we just need another guy that can score. That's just not Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then when those guys are off, it's nobody else, and that's a guaranteed loss. So I'm going to sell purely on the strength of the schedule.
That's fair. Totally understandable. Desperately hope you're wrong. We're going to speed this up a little bit, so let's just give a little bit quicker answers from now. Doc Rivers, Clippers and the Lakers are still the team to beat in the West. This is very interesting. John, I'm going to give it to you.
Who am I to disagree with Doc Rivers? I'll buy it. Yeah, I think that the Clippers are really good and they're flying under the radar because no one has any reason to believe in them after the playoffs last year. But I think they're really good. The Lakers are the Lakers, and they just added Andre Drummond. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Doc's right. As good as the teams in the West are, if there's going to be a surprise, it's going to happen in the West. But I think this is true.
Kevin?
I agree 100%. I think the Lakers and Clippers are the teams to beat, especially because of the playoffs. I think Jazz and Suns are way shakier of teams once they get to the playoffs, whereas Clippers and Lakers every year are very, very, very competitive in the playoffs. So if you can beat those teams now, then you're in really good shape. If you can beat the Jazz and Suns now, I don't think that tells you anything about your playoff chances. So I'm buying.
Look, all I'm saying is a few episodes ago, a very, very smart man said that the Jazz is going to be in the finals. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Sam, I'm going to go with you next.
But that very, very smart man also did not pick a finals MVP from the scenario. Just like to say. Right. But I'm going to lightly buy. I do think the Phoenix Suns are very questionable in the sense of questionable in a good way. I think this team can really shake up a lot. We just have never seen this team in the playoffs in a long time. Basically since Steve Nash, essentially. So it's a completely new world for these guys, but you can't doubt LA.
All right, fair enough. Andre Drummond plays the best basketball of his career with LeBron James. I'm going to say buy only because LeBron James, as we have said, makes his teammates much better. John?
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened with Sam said it in the last episode. We saw it happen with Rondo, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee,
Dwight Howard,
fucking KCP. LeBron makes people better. He's probably one of the best players of all time at doing just that. So I think this will be pretty much the best thing Andre Drummond could have hoped for his career. Granted, it hasn't worked out for Montrezl Harrell, but we'll see. We'll see what happens for Andre. I don't know.
Kevin?
I don't know. I'm kind of lightly selling on this just because, I don't know how he can play better than when he was on the Cavs and every other big was basically injured and he was putting up 20-20 numbers every night because there was no one else on the team to get rebounds or score under the basket. So I don't know how he can top that, really. I want him to be awesome on the Lakers, obviously, and I think he will be great, but I don't think he's going to play the best he's ever played.
You said obviously, but I thought you weren't a Lakers fan. I thought you weren't a Lakers hype man.
I'm still repping.
Confirmed Lakers fan. Okay.
All right. Sam?
I'll buy purely on LeBron James as well. The way he's rejuvenated a lot. JaVale McGee has a job still, guys. Like, that's kind of crazy to think. Like, this guy was in the G League and now he's like 3 titles. Like, it's kind of crazy for me. So I'll buy on this.
All right, we're gonna do one more, just because of time's sake. And the last one's gonna be the Nets versus Lakers finals. Will be the best finals since the 3-1 Cleveland Warriors final. John, I'll let you go first on this one.
I actually really think this is true, because I feel like we keep having some like fairly and obviously it all comes down to health, but I feel like we've had our fair share of like fairly lopsided finals. Even going to like like the Miami Heat era of like LeBron's career, I feel like we've had our fair share of like kind of disappointing finals. So I think this is one where like we got 2 teams that are just like absolutely loaded. They're so good that if either of them didn't make it to the finals, they'd be getting clowned for months on Twitter. So I think that if both teams are healthy, I think this will be like one of the best finals we've had. I'll say like even within like a decade. Like it's just been it should be really, really fun.
Damn. All right, Kevin.
I agree 100%. As long as the Nets and Lakers get to the finals, which, like, again, to John's point, if they don't, that's an absolute embarrassment to either whichever one that chokes in the playoffs. But assuming they do, I think it will be like a 7-game or like 6-game, like really intense battle, very close games every time. And seeing literally the best basketball players like LeBron, AD, James Harden, KD, and Kyrie all in one fight. Like, that's so hype. That is exactly what every basketball fan should hope for in a finals.
Yeah, Sam.
I'll just make a quick side tangent, going back to our very initial point about the whole KD like joining up thing. Now looking at it from this standpoint, I think it's actually really good that we're able to get super teams, because I think that's just how you bring interest back into the NBA. You know, for someone that just plays basketball, like for me, it's inherently like fun. It's just like I like watching whatever basketball it is. But I could, for just the average person, I could see like, you know, at that point, it's not about team anymore. It's about the NBA player. So seeing these, 5 players like all in the same court would be nuts to see, right? So I can defend that now. I will buy on this, but I will go against the whole decade, because 2014 finals is still the best finals in the past decade. Hands down, man down. I was really upset because I think the 3-1 Cavs Warriors, that should have been the Warriors. Draymond Green got suspended poorly.
That was bullshit.
That was a bad call.
Agreed.
And I think especially at that time, I was very anti like 72-10 Bulls, because I was like, I don't like this. F Jordan, this is garbage. 73-9, this is it. And then they fumbled the bag, and I was upset at that point. But like you guys said, I think Nets, Lakers, like, what more can you want? Like, you literally have like the top 7. I think it could be like top 7, top 8 players in the NBA, like going at it. Like, it's perfect. It's beautiful.
This is exactly what I think the Knicks would have wanted, honestly. And it just fell apart horribly for them. I mean, good on them for getting this high in the playoffs, but like, you could have had what Brooklyn had. Let's just be honest here. I'm going to buy this one as well. This is 2 super teams going against each other. Finally, the East kind of has this power team that looks fantastic, and I think this might be one of the first finals in a while where we're kind of unsure of who's going to win. And it's funny because, like John has said, the finals haven't even been decided yet. Like, the playoffs haven't even started yet. And we're already looking at these 2 teams like it's clear. It's almost as clear as day that they're going to be in the finals. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. This is the Deep 3 Pod. You guys can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Deep 3 Pod. And you guys can hear us and listen to us, watch us on YouTube, as well as anywhere that you get your podcasts from. Please like, click, share, and subscribe to the show. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Don't eat at Tillman Fertitta's restaurants.